Hi again. Started late again because I've been routing through quite a few different parts. I'm going to be going through putting the clutch in on this side. A couple of parts need cleaning because I've been on storage for a bit, and then there's a couple of parts that, well, one particular part that I will have to take off and be replaced at a later date. But it will do for now to be able to show you what's what, and also I'll go through with you what is what and things like the clutch stack height, which is the full height of the clutch, while it's all together with metal plates, friction plates, but I'll show you all that as it goes through. I've also dug out a lot of other parts that I'm going to be needing for building doing the final bits and bobs on the bike and building it up. It's just silly little things like I need the fuel tank breather pipe and the fuel tank overflow pipe. Various different things like that, and I use a different tail tidy. I use an RNG tail tidy on it, things like that need to be collected and brought around. My throttle blipper module, all sorts of bits and bobs. Just as I've been routing through all the boxes that have been there for a year, been finding what I need. So it's a little bit of a late start due to that. I was in here early, but not at the moment. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few bits and bobs, and I will show you what happened to one of it was actually the clutch hub nut that holds all the clutch together on my drag bike. What actually happened to it, and I actually had to grind it off basically. So I'll show you the reason why I'm replacing the nut, and you have to use that correct socket and make sure you've got plenty of pressure pushing against it when you're tightening it up and loosening it. The problem seems to be when you're doing it, because it is set at 135 newton meters. I'm not sure what that is in old school, but you can do a conversion for that. So I will turn the camera around now and show you a few bits on the clutch side of things. I've already got the casing off. I have a new gasket to go on. Well, I'll show you. It's easiest to show you rather than to talk to it now. So I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you what we are looking at now. Well, here we have the casing open with no clutch in it at all at the moment. This here is your starting ring. It goes through from the gearbox. No, it's the oil pump. Sorry, I'll get it right. It's the oil pump. Is the wheel that drives the oil pump on the other side, which also drives the coolant pump as well. That drives directly off the clutch basket, where on my H2 it has actually a chain, and then that drives off the clutch on the H2, but the H2 clutch is a lot higher up because of the supercharger and various other things. There's a big washer here. I'm just trying to loosen off, but it's so flush I've got no nails to be able to pick it off a bit with. If I can get to it. Maybe I can't get to it, maybe I can get to it. Oh yeah, I'm rattling it off. Oh, you know what? I need to grow some nails. I'll get the missus to come and get it off. Yeah, it's moving now. Behind there, you have your main crankcase bearing. It looks like it's been stood for a bit, and there might be a little bit of rust on the shaft, but not too much. I'm just trying to see if I can zoom in for you. Just a little bit there, but that's the main output shaft bearing behind there. As I say, my engine builder's checked it over. Here is this goes to your lever, your gear lever. Let's try and focus in on that a bit better. And that basically rotates that round and knocks it into gear and out of gear. This shaft moves up and down, spring loaded. You can see the springs there on that. In the centre there you have, as I was showing you the other side, which is pretty much loose, is the big bar that will push against your clutch to push it outwards when you use your hydraulic clutch as well. So that's that. Now we have, obviously that goes on. You can see which way it's been round, because you can see the centre mark there where that's been touching against the bearing. And on the outside here, just double check that what I'm saying is true. The outside there should little center. This is a little cog that actually goes and runs the oil pump. That is removable. It seems to be a bit tight at the moment, but I have just put that back on. And also in here you have the springs for, it's like a push drive that you have on the rear. There's three different types. There's quite the weak looking ones there, then you have the medium looking ones, and you got the stiff ones. Now I have had on my drag bike one of them explode out, but it was the weak one. The weak one seemed to turn and dislodge on my billet clutch basket that was made. It may have been weakened because these rivets had to be taken out and re-welded something in, and that was done in the States, so it's a bit difficult for me to go actually out there to take it back. So I'm running a standard clutch basket at the moment. Actually, I was wrong by that cog. That one is attached. This is the cog. Yeah, it's found in the bottom of my tray. That sits on there like that, and that drives the oil pump. We also obviously have, you got the base of the, oh, there's a few scratches on that. It's probably been battered around a bit, and then that sits on the top like that. And the reason why these are two-piece and not, the reason why these are two-piece and not one-piece is because it has a slipper clutch on this particular bike, where it will ride up these slopes here and give you a little bit of back torque. I'll show you once it's on. It's supposed to minimise lock on the rear wheel. Now when I was drag racing, I disabled that because it does give you a little bit of play as you launch off the line as well, and I wanted to minimise how much play I had in the clutch to basically get off the line as quick as possible. You see there's three studs there where the thingy goes on. 3 of them come out and 1 was bent, so I'm replacing all 6 of them with new ones before I put it back together. So I'm going to turn the camera off now, and I'm going to put that in place and then show you a few quick little notes on this here. You see in the corner there, if I can focus in on that bit, it engages into the crank. You just about see it, I think. If I can brighten it up, let's see if we brighten it up a bit. You see it engage in the crank. Now when if you're trying just to push that in while you've got the bearing in, because of the casing here, you see there, it catches. So what I tend to do is I locate that into place there, and then I push the centre bearing in, which goes round the shaft, and that centre bearing is this bearing down here. It has like a metal collar, a metal. I'm trying to focus in on this. It's not focusing in really well. Oh, there we go. That is what I was saying is. Let me just take this out of the way before I drop everything, as you can hear. That is a needle bearing, but you have the centre bit that goes in the middle of that as well. So you can put the needle bearing in and then push the centre in afterwards, which I found is the easiest way to put this bit on without everything falling to bits. So I'm going to go and put that on now. I'm going to clean some of these parts up with a bit of brake cleaner as well before I put it back in. Another little note here. You see this centre collar that goes in the needle bearing. On one side you don't have any holes on the other side you have 2 holes, and you have a hole on the side. What happens is that it feeds oil through there and sprays it out to the side, so that the needle bearing will get some oil. Now there's only one way this will go in. The flat side, the one with no holes, goes in towards the engine, and this one sticks out towards the clutch. So it goes in like that. And as I've loosely got this in so far, I should be able to get that into the needle bearing a bit. I'm trying to do it with one hand. This is a little bit finicky because you need to try and get the clutch quite straight. Sorry about the wall camera. There we go. There we go. Now it's pushed home there. So that's how that sits now. As I say, those 2 will sit there, and because this has got a recess, you see where these are here, oil will come through the little recesses there for thin film around the thingy, through the hole, and feed the bearing as well. So the next bit to go on would be another washer. It keeps that oil in there rather than spraying it all out as well. Now I'm going to clean up a few more bits and then I'll explain the next bit. It's going to be on and off a little bit like this because with me being on my own, I can't actually just film it as I'm doing it. I don't really have anything nearby to be able to put this on a little stand, so it'll be on and off sort of thing, and I will explain what's what. Hi, as I should hello again. As you see, I've put 6 brand new what they call sub-hub nuts on this device. This part of the clutch. This is the first part of the inner part of the clutch. That is the outer basket. Now this should slot in anywhere on the spline. Push it in tight, because then you will see there is. And you'll see that washer will also give you a bit of space at the back, so it's not flush against any metal. We also see there's a little bit of spline left, and that is for the centre nut, the centre washer, quite a big thick washer, with a few little marks on it from where I have to try and get it off other vehicle. Now that will sit in nicely in the centre of there, no problem at all, and that will keep it quite flush. It takes up a little bit there, and also that, as I say, that's a washer. It doesn't actually wear the actual upper way, or wear a washer if anything. Now the second part of your clutch basket is this. As you see, there's a few little marks on it. That is from the metal plates moving backwards and forwards, and there's a little bit more wear on this one, but as long as they're not grooves and it doesn't stop your clutch sliding up and down in that direction, which I have had before now, but not the fact that this bit was worn. It was more the fact the metal plates have expanded that much under extreme drag race conditions. As I say, it's a little bit of wear, but I don't think there'll be any major issue with this, with it being a road bike and not doing any drag launches with it anymore, which I have done in the past. I'm just checking to see if there's any lip. There's no real lip, it's just a bit of shining really. But you also see on the centre there's 3 slopes. You see, little post type slopes. When next to it there's a rivet as well, which will give you the guidance of what I'm going to do now. You turn this over, this clutch goes the reverse way around, it goes that way round. You'll also see on the inner part, the first part of it, there's like grooves on the first part of the inner clutch. Those grooves are so that it'll try to take oil around the centre, the inner bit, and also there's oil holes that will then lube the outside of the clutch, or the clutch plates and metal plates. So those posts, you have to line up with the slope inside. Now there's 3 of them, and there's 3 rivets as well. So the rivets, and also what can be a little bit of a, it can't be a bit of a giveaway, but you see the rivets line, they should go anywhere in there, and then they should go in like that, quite easy. But then you see it's got a slight side movement. That is your slipper clutch. There is springs in it that makes it a bit stiffer. So when you going down the box at rather high RPM, what can normally happen is that will lock solid, and also what it will do, it will push itself out like that. So as it pushes itself out like that, it disengages the clutch. You see what I mean? It pushes the clutch away from each other. So it pushes it away from the centre there. So what that will do is, as you go down the box hard, it'll do that, disengage the clutch for a little bit, and then potentially to not lock the rear wheel. Quite clever little device, and the springs that go on here, which I'll be showing you next, will spring it back into place. Now that's these springs. There's 4 of them, and they normally locate in each one of those grooves there, like that. Yeah. So there's like little grooves to slot it into place. So those springs will sit in there, and they will push the clutch back into place if you do engage the slip clutch. I'm going to put these springs in a stack, quickly show you how they should be stacked to be able to put them into the clutch. Then I'll be putting on the nut and I'll go on to show you how the nut goes on in a particular place in the middle. I have one damaged spring, which the damaged spring is due to grinding a nut off for my drag bike more than anything. The centre shaft is okay on this one, so this certainly wasn't this bike. And what it was is the nut had rounded trying to get it off, and it had to be, couldn't get anything on it to get it off, so it had to be ground down as far as it could go, and then it had to be knocked off with a chisel. This is the spring I'm on about. It looks way battered on the top. As you can see, I use the Dremel mainly to put it down. You can see because it's a small amount, and I could get the extension bit with Dremel in there quite easy. I'm going to use this one for now. I am going to order new ones, probably order a whole new set, but I will put these on now for this purpose to show you what's going on. It's pretty quick for me to get them on and off, especially having an impact gun. The centre, I replaced all these. These are set at 25 Newton meter, and I would advise putting a bit of red thread lock on them, permanent thread lock on them, because as you take the nut, the screws out from there, some of these posts can come out, and if you put the red thread lock in, it's less likely to come out, and it'll actually take the Allen heads out properly if you ever need to change the clutch plates for any reason at all. So I'm going to put these springs in place, and then I'll show you what's what and get back to you in a minute. Oh, just before I do, I'll show you this nut that I had to grind off. This is the nut. It had to be excessively ground into and cut. So you name it, took hours to try and get that off, and then we finally managed to knock it round. I did go into the little shaft a little bit, but it didn't damage it enough for it to not lock itself back up properly. So I've had nuts on it, touch wood. We've had no issues with any nuts backing off or anything, which the clutch is checked regular on the drag bike because the stack height has to be adjusted irregular because I have a lock-up clutch. But that's for another day. I'll explain that another day of how that potentially works. Right, I'll put this on together and I'll show you the next one. I have now stacked the springs how they should be stacked. Let's say 4 of them, and the centre nut that will go, it's got like a lid, as I'll show you here. That sits into the springs, and then that will tighten up against the slip clutch. I'm trying to think of the words. And then once that's on, we're ready to put the clutch springs on. So I'll put this together now. I'll put some clutch springs, get some clutch plates together and show you what order they need to go in, because they're not all exactly the same. You have to put like different ones in different positions, and I'll explain to you the reason why in a minute. Hi, I've now put the centre nut on with the springs in place. You can see where the springs are. That centre nut is 135 Newton meters, as I say. Now you can get some clutch holding tools. I've got a couple here to show you. I have one by EBC here. And this is for the 14, it's a CT021. Now this fits between the outer part of the basket and the inner part of the basket. Just rotate it around to meet where it meets. If I can get it in. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. As I say. Oh, sorry, waving cameras around here. I'm trying to do it as I say. But yeah, this sits in between. It's not the exact tool that Kawasaki use. I'll show you. I've got one very similar to a genuine Kawasaki tool in a minute. But this sits like that, and then you can. I would recommend to get an assistant to hold that, and maybe even put it on a bar, like a scaffolding bar, which should get round that, and then get someone to do the nut. Now you do not want to slip off this nut. I've used an impact thing to put it in first, and then recheck the torque setting with my torque wrench. It's normally easier to push down, but because you've got this in the way, because it doesn't lift the bike obviously, because you've got this particular part in the way, you do not really want to put it on a bar because it will slip off. So another better way of doing it is doing it up on this case. Basically using your hands going upwards that way, and you can stand up and pull it up. But if you've got it on a bench or anything, I would strap it down to the bench first. Now, with that on there now, you can now start putting the clutch plates in. Now there's a few different clutch plates. I'll have to look in the manual to double check which order they go in. Oh yeah, just a quick note, this is the start of a damaged nut. You can see where it's starting to damage and get starting to slip. So that's why I replaced it for a new one. For the sake of what the cost of a nut is, it's going to save you a lot of heartache than actually, you know, trying to get it off like I did last time. Now with these 14s, you have 2 of these plates with it's got a full fibre, the full length of it. There's 2 of them, the full length. So there's 2 of them like that. You know, we have one that has a small little bit of fibre, and that is normally because you have like a ring and a spring that goes in, like a full ring that goes all around and a spring that sits on. I'm trying to remember if I've got them available. I will have a look before I start. And then you have 7 of them with 2/3 to 3/4 fibre all the way along. So that's 7 there. So that's 10 fibres in total. And then you have, sorry for moving around, just reach them over. Then you have, I think there's 9 of these. You see the part numbers there. Now you can see from the clutch plate there, they're 2.6mm thick. They're the standard ones you fit. You can get 2.9mm and 2.3mm. Now that all depends on your clutch height and your wear and tear and so on and that. Now with me with drag racing, I combined a few. They do say not to combine a 2.3mm and a 2.9mm on the same stack. That's what Kawasaki recommended in the manual. Reasons to me are unknown really. Maybe it's due to warpage and stuff. But I tend to use various different ones for drag racing, because obviously after every race or every second race week, depending on how many runs I've done, I particularly take the clutch out, change it, check it, and so on and that. On some top fuel bikes, they have to change the clutch stack height after every run. Now that is obviously extreme amount of power they're putting down to do that, and destroying the clutch after one run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly refer to the manual, and then I'm going to put them in order of stack. And the other thing I would advise, especially if you're going to run the bike almost straight after without actually letting any oil lubricate around, is these fibre ones, soak them in oil. Put them in a pan, grab your wife's best pan out the kitchen, as long as I fit that diameter. Put enough oil in for all these fibres to soak, and I would soak them, if you know you're going to do it, I'd soak them overnight. And then what it does, it lets the oil get into the fibres properly, and then you won't get as much extreme wear when you first start the vehicle and start running it, because obviously if they're dry when you first run them, they're going to wear quite easily. But I will be doing a lot of running and tick over and so on and everything with this bike. So with the clutch lever pulled in, when you obviously clutch lever pulled in, less oil get round it. A lot of us in drag racing will lean our bike to the right and keep pulling the clutch in and let the oil get round to cool the clutch. We do that quite regularly. You've probably seen them do it, and you probably wonder why they're doing it. But one of the reasons is to let oil get into the system and let the clutch cool down. Clutch gets too hot, they just start melting and burning. I will show you in a bit of what actually burnt plates will look like. I think I've still got some, I'm not sure if I've binned them all. But I have had worse than what I am about to show you in a bit. Right, I'm going to get this ordered together and show you about stack height, and then put it all together. Hello again. Hi, yeah. I've got the clutch plates in the correct order. I found the other spring I was telling you about, and I'm just in the process of measuring the gap, what they call a stack height. Now Kawasaki recommend this stack height to be 54.2, and what you do is you put all the clutch plates together like that, friction metal, friction metal, friction metal in the right order, and then measure from fibre, get it close to it, what is it? put fibre to fibre and push it in quite tight, and 54.23, that's proper stack height. I have used 2.6 mil metal plates in this, and that is exactly how it should be. And now I'm going to show you which order you put the plates in. I'm going to take that vernier off there, sorry for the movement of the camera. Now I've got these stacked without dropping one on the floor and running over it, hopefully not. I've got these stacked in the order they should go. Just check I have, yeah. Right, so you put one of the large fibres with full width of fibre, I'm just waiting for my dinner to cool down as well as boil or not, in first, and push that all the way home to the back. Yeah, and then you have a metal plate. Seems self-explanatory this. So you have a metal plate, you push all the way to the back. Don't particularly need to go in the order. Then you have the small one, fibre one. This is where they recommend to put it. I have seen people put them in various other places, in next, and I think the reason why they put it this far back in the clutch stack is the spring that I'm about to show you what's going to go on as well. Because it's far back in it, it can get hotter at the back end of the engine, closer to the engine, so the spring will then push them out and stop them potentially sticking. So you put that small fibre in next. As I say, as you see from inside there's a bit of a gap, so you see, so that gap you then put, where did I put them? Did I put them in here? No, I didn't put them in there. We'll have them in a minute. I did get them out ready, but I have been looking for the vernier gauge, so I might have moved them. Aha, found them. Right, now you've got two of these. One is flat, and then the other one, flat as a spring, is shaped like that. And you put the flat one in first. It just about goes around the inner hub, the inner clutch hub. Let's try and see if we can zoom in and show you. We'll get close and show you. So that sits in there, and then you get the spring one sit. I've tried two different variations on this. Sorry, I've got the magnetic clutch thingies getting in the way. I've tried two variations of it. I've tried it like that, where the spring is on the inside, and I have tried it the other way around, and I don't think it particularly makes much of a difference. So I'm going to put it this way round, where the pyramid bit is up against the thingy and the flat is up against the other little spring. And then after that you start putting the clutch in the way it was, because obviously that's a fibre, then it's a metal. Come on, focus in, will you? Let me just get this in and I'll try and focus it in, keep it focused in. Yeah, then you put metal in, fibre, I've done that fibre the wrong way around, so you can see there's two positions, and I'll show you that for the last minute. Now obviously these stuff like that, I have these little hook things that you can hook them out, one on each side. You normally need two hands for this, but obviously I'm trying to show you, so I've only got one hand for this. And you're supposed to pull them out if you've got two hands, that is. Well, right, make sure you're in that position, because I'll show you now. If you look at this one, it stops there. It stops there. You can't go past that, so make sure you put it in the larger of the two. And I'll show you the reason why in a moment. I'm trying to keep focusing. Keep putting metal friction on those type ones. See, the other full friction, the full fibre one, goes at the very end. And the reason is because you have an aluminium top cover that goes on, and that aluminium top piece you don't want. You want it to be able to use the full fibre, the full width. Now within drag racing, Sometimes I use full fibre, sometimes I use small fibre. It depends how much grip I want on the clutch and how little grip I want. I've even known people to put 2 metal plates side by side and 2 fibres side by side to be able to get the clutch to how they would like it. Definitely not recommended for the road. Obviously the 2 metals could fuse together. It doesn't mean it'll jam the clutch up, because they'll just fuse against each other. As long as they keep free flowing backwards and forwards, it shouldn't cause the bike to seize up or anything, but I certainly wouldn't recommend it for the road. And you keep doing this all the way through, and you keep going. Keep going. Sorry for the long delay, just as quick as I can. Keep going. There's a few more left. There's one more metal and one more fibre. Yep, so one more metal there. And then the last fibre, you see it's a full fibre one. Focus it on my finger please. No, it won't. See, it's a full fibre one. What they do is, Kawasaki recommend you stagger it. So that sits in that bit there and it doesn't. Reason why, I do not know. If anyone does know, let me know. These are quite handy. You say a little pick on that side, but it's magnetic the other side, so you can actually almost pull it off through the fibre. So if you have problems getting them out, in and out, now, fortunately I got them from the States when I ordered some stuff from my drag bike. So they're quite a handy piece of kit. So then, after that, your outer clutch cover goes on. And if you notice, on the inside you've got one large in a few various places. I think it's opposites. Now that large bit has to locate one of the large bits there. On the other side, they do show you little marks. You can see that mark, that little dimple there, that equates with that. And then you've got one on the other side as well, with a dimple there. So it gives you a chance to line up. But before we put that on, what you need to put in next is your plunger. Goes in there. I'm trying to think which way around it goes yet. You plunge it in there. And then you've got a roller bearing and a washer. Yep. I think it's that way around. I'll double check in a minute and I'll correct myself if wrong. And then obviously line that up. Dimple with a hole there, and that will lock in. If you get that in the wrong place, I'll show you, it will not sit correctly. So if you turn that wrong way, it won't lock into place. It will only go as far as that, and you will leave yourself a gap. So the clutch will not work, and you'll be wondering why it's not working and why the clutch is rock solid sort of thing. So it goes in like that. Yeah, pretty much close to done. Then you have little washers that sit in each one of these around them, which are not the full size of them, and the little washers that sit in. Now, I can't find mine, so I'm going to use spacers that we use in drag racing, which we'll do for now until I've ordered some. What I'll do is I'll double check that, what I told you with the little needle bearing, the rotary needle bearing there, and the washers, and check that that's the correct way. And then what I will do is get my little bits, put them in place, and show you the next step. And basically that's the clutch in, really. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the clutch in. So it's just a matter of bolting everything up and so on. But there is one particular note. You see this bolt hole here? That one goes straight the way through and it comes out the other end. So it is all the way through. It's not like these where they're blocked at the back. So what you need to do is you need to put a little bit of thread lock in that one. I don't use blue. It's just to stop the oil weeping out, because oil can weep out through that one there. So that's recommended on that one. All the others are blanked at the rear end and will not go all the way through. They don't go all the way through. It's only that one. And to give you the clue on that, on the engine casing, it does have a little mark next to the bolt hole, the one that needs thread lock. So I hope that's been helpful to you. I'll bolt up everything up and then I'll get back to you at the next stage. Hi, yeah, as you see now I have put on most of my springs. I put 5 on. The reason why I've left one off is I need to show you something a bit different, because I have used different top hats, as we call them, and I've put spacers in because I like quite a heavy clutch. Because I have a ignition cutout going up and throttle flipper coming down, I don't really need to use the clutch very often, so my hand doesn't get hurt too much. But I'll show you the difference. I'll show you first of all how to check the spring free length, as they call it, and I'll tell you what the service limit is. As you see here, I've got a spring here on the vernier gauge, and it says 32.13mm. Now the standard is 32.1, so that is perfect length in spring. Now the service limit is 31mm, so if it's any smaller than 31mm, they need to be changed. It means that the spring have weakened over time and they actually get smaller over time. And I will another show you here next to it is the difference between the two top hats. This one is the standard top hat, as we call, where the spring will sit on the top hat, if it will. It won't on this one very well. Well, I'll give you an idea. I think these are top hats of a ZX12, must be. Yeah, right, yeah. So that will sit in the spring. It might be because I haven't got standard springs. Yeah, I think I've got heavy duty springs as well anyway. But anyway, that top hat, like that, it's just a piece of metal bended over. But I've got actually milled billet aluminium top hat, which is slightly stronger, and well, they're designed to take more force. And the reason why that is because I use these spacers as well. Quite a heavy spacer, and that basically puts more pressure on the spring. So obviously with me doing that, I need to make sure my spring service limit is not used, and that's because I like a heavy clutch and I don't like the clutch to slip. The more you have a setup where the clutch is less likely to slip, the less you're likely to wear your clutch as well. That is a good note to have, but unfortunately it gives you a really heavy feel to the clutch. Now on my H2, my clutch is so heavy that some people really don't like it, but because I've got that particular gear change, it's handy for me, and also it doesn't slip. On that particular bike I have Brock's upgraded heavy duty springs with little spacers, different top hats and so on and that. And I've also set the clutch up like a H2R, which means the metal plate's a little bit thinner, but you have one extra friction, one extra metal plate. So I'm going to put all this back together, and then I'm going to put the casing on. As I showed you, one has to have thread lock. These need to be torqued up to, I'm just going to get my notes, I've got my notes here somewhere. Yeah, the spring bolts need to be torqued 8.8 Newton meters. I've looked in the manual beforehand, that's what it says. And then your cover bolts, 9.8 Newton meters. I normally do up to 10, it's only 0.2. But that's 8.8 for the spring bolts, 9 for that, and 135 Newton meters for the big hook nut in the middle. And these, what they call inner hook bolts, they have to be 25 Newton meters. I work in Newton meters because I've always worked in Newton meters. Some people work pound per foot, and some other people work in some pound per foot force, I think. Right, I'm going to bolt all this back up, and then I'll probably get back to you after that. Hi, as you can see, I've got the clutch all back together. Everything's been torqued up properly. I'd say 9.8 Newton meters there, 8.8 on the springs, 135 for the big nut, and 25 Newton meters for the, what I call the posts, like pillars, don't they really, that the springs go on. I've took off the cover here now, as probably some of you may have noticed that I didn't have a cam chain tensioner in it, partly because I ended up borrowing that for my drag bike when I had one seize up on me, believe it or not. Sorry, I'm just going to try and get myself up. Yeah. I had one seized up on me, so as you can see from there, there's no cam chain tension in here. And as you can see, the guide is there. And what I do on these, what you have to do on these, right? This is the best way I found it is, take the bottom cover off, put the new tensioner, and then what you have to do is, sorry, you're looking nothing. New tensioner, brand new tensioner. They're not cheap, about 90 quid I think they are. And then what you do is you've got to push that down and rotate it to the right until that groove there, the spring sits in it, and then that tensioner will be fully in the fully open position or closed position, depending which way you want to put it. And then when it's in that position, you can, that's what they call it, it's in the reset position. And then you put it in with a new gasket, and I'll show you the next bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that now. I'm going to put that in the position, and I'll show you what it looks like once it's in that position. And then I'll put it in, and I'll show you how to get it out of the reset position. It's something that Kawasaki recommend. This is the way to do it, rather than trying to tap the damn thing to see if it'll spring out. So I'll do that now, and I'll show you what's what in a minute. Hi, and there we go, it's in the reset position. So that spring is pushed in there, and what's holding that is basically the force of it pushing up against the, if I can zoom in a bit better, I think ×2 might help. Yeah, basically the pressure of the spring pushing itself out is pushing against in that side groove there, where that spring is. So you've got to be careful putting them in, because they can spring out and then you have to reset it again. They always have a little thin film of oil on when you get them like this now. Now they are a lot harder to push in when the oil is in them, because they are, even though they've got spring in them, spring loaded, they do are hydraulic as well. They do have oil that go through as well, as you can see from the oil hole there. And there's an oil hole on the bike itself, on the engine itself. Oh, hang on, where am I getting my camera? There we go, the oil hole there. The oil feeds up through there and gets it in the tension and pushes it outwards, try and keep it outwards. Now, I used to use a manual one in drag racing, but I was actually recommended to go back to the standard one, because manual ones, if they go, they snap. Now, I've had mixed thingies with them. Some people are saying the brill, some people are saying they're not so much. So I've decided to stick with Kawasaki for racing as well as for the roads. But what I'll do is I'll put this in situ, and then I'll show you how to get it out of that position, and you can know, I can show you how you can tell as well. So I will insert that, and there's only one particular way it will go in. You see from there, that oil hole there on the engine has to line up with that oil hole, or is it the other way around? No, it's the other way around. Is it? Let's have a look. Yeah, the other way around. It goes like that basically. Yeah, sorry. It lines up with that oil hole. Yeah, that's the oil hole. That must be the return back out, and it runs back down the side. So, like an overpressure, you don't want to overpressure. Right, I'll insert that now with a new gasket, and I will show you what's what. And the bolts are the same, again, the same, 9.8 Newton meters, same as all basically M6 size type bolts. So I will do that now. Right, back again. Now that is all bolted up, tightened up, new gasket. So that's all in situ. Now at the moment you will see from here that this chain is loose. Yep, you can see it's loose. Not tensioned up at all, because that is still in the reset position, as you can see. Yeah. Now what Kawasaki recommend you do is get, oops, the nuts fell off. Not very often you can see nuts fall off, is it? Haha, sick joke. Never mind, that's alright, it's a good joke. Right, what Kawasaki say you do is, it's a 17mm nut on there. You rotate the engine by hand. Do not start it. You rotate it round a full 360 degrees. You can get it going. I'll course, also if something's wrong, you'll feel it stop and won't break your engine. Should be pretty much all the way around now. Now that should be tensioned up. I can try and get my thing in, see how loose it was last time. Let's see. That's pretty much, yeah. That's quite tight that now. Yeah, that's come around. Yeah. But what I'd also do, even though you check that and that's a lot tighter, when you first start the bike, just crank it, but without allowing it to start. And just do that a couple of times, and then you know for sure everything's good. But at this stage, do not start it unless you can see that that's definitely tensioned up a bit. That means that's sprung out. That means the tension is sprung out. Now it's pushing against this guide here, tension a guide and tension in the cam chain. You do not want it to slip a tooth or not. Right there. While we're here, that is the crank sensor. That tells them what position the engine is in. As you can see, there's a big gap there. There's a couple of gap differences. That one's longer, and it must know which position it's in as it rotates around. Okay, there's obviously a couple of markings on there from the engine builder. We can back up. We see there 2 and 3. That means if you have that lined up with that line there, you can actually do, as long as it's not been had different cams in and been dialed in differently, you can actually then do the valve clearances on 2 and 3. And then that one will should say 1 and 4, and that's in that position. You can do the valve clearances on 1 and 4. But if I've got to do valve clearances on my road bike, so unless I get my engine builder to do it, but I might get him to talk us through it a little bit, maybe not, we'll see. Right, I'm going to put this cover back on, and then that's another job done on the engine side of things. I could have done this while it was in situ, but it's a bit easier to try and get some weight and turning on that while the bike's in the frame. It's a lot heavier, more stable than trying to do it while it's on a trolley, and you might drop the engine over and cause some damage. So I'll sign off for a bit, and then I'll get back to you in a bit if I do any more. If not, we'll have a final word and so on. I just need to check the time. So I will see you in a bit. Hi all, this will be the last one for me tonight. It is pushing on 8 o'clock now, so I'll just tell you what I've just finished off doing. I've obviously put the cover over there and re-torqued everything up to 9.8 Newton meters, what it says in the book. Obviously the chain tensioner one was 9.8 Newton meters again. And what I've also done now is I've changed the rear brake master cylinder. That was bent at the bottom here. I did try to separate it to see if it could, but it didn't seem to want to budge. But I will probably service it with a service kit later on, because then it'll be a good rusty master cylinder. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just they've got bent bolts at the end. And wherever I put that will be definitely serviceable. There it is. Sorry for all the things. You can get service kits for these where you actually change the shaft, the body thread as well. All the seals in, dust seals, even the outer bits there, the clips, everything works. So we'll get a service kit for that, and I will sort all that out, and I can either use it as a spare or put it back on as a new one. As you can see, the numbers are slightly different on them. So whether that affects the braking power, there's got number 7 on there. I'm not sure what those other numbers are. And on that one, you've got it's like the 9D15. So whether they change the cylinder size, because that could be 15mm cylinder push, and that could be 17 if that's a 1 in there. I'm not sure. It looks like a 7 as well. It might be 1.7. So they could have changed them a bit. So who knows? I will see what the rear braking pressure is like anyway, and go from there. As I say, I put the brake light switch on at the back and adjusted it as much as I can. I have changed the different end on there, which have got a bit more of adjustments, because there's a screw in them on the original ones, which reduces the amount of, you can even cut them down and have them further, because I like to have my foot a little bit lower because I have pretty long legs, so that's lower than what normal. The normal one's probably about there. It's only about half an inch lower. At the moment I've got these on. I'm probably going to change these to something different, and the gold bolts at the moment are just there just to bolt it up. I will be going for blue bolts at the moment to match everything else. That's pretty much it. And also I'm going to get some new thingy bobbins, but I might get blue bolts for that as well. We'll just see how much I go with it. And that's pretty much it for me tonight. Most of it's all been about clutch, and I have done a step-by-step with the clutch of what to do, I suppose what not to do. Tomorrow, I'm not sure which way around I'm going to do things yet tomorrow. Or depends if anything turns up that I've ordered or not really. I've got to order some spacers for the rear wheel. I'll show you what the score is on them as I took them apart. If I don't drop everything and make a racket at the same time. Whether I can find them. It should be just there, but nothing's always just there, as you know, from me. Anyway, that's just me. Stuffy mechanic, but I don't mind doing the jobs. They're not there, actually in the wheel, that's why. But there's spacers that go in either side of the wheel, and for some reason the spacers seem to have grooves in them. Now how that's happened, whether stones go in and groove them, there seems to be when I've used it for drag racing, so unless someone else has caused it. Since I've changed them on my drag bike, they haven't actually done it since, but I will order some new ones for these. Probably order new front and rear, so that's all sorted sort of thing. I've just got to find a few more brackets for the back. I really want to try and see if I can put the original brake line bracket on, but to get them off normally I normally had to try and bend them. So whether I can find ones that's straight enough and clean enough to put back on, depends whether I do it or not. I'm going to have to find something to hold the brake a bit better, and the rear ABS cylinder a little bit better, ABS sensor a little bit better than the way they are. I'm also going to be probably putting on tomorrow the big heavy bracket that goes on the back of the bike for when you're using a top box. I call it a putty box, sort of thing from my neck of the woods. I'm probably going to have to take some of the bolts back off and put them back on again to mount that up correctly. And so that's why I'm going to do that next, because I don't want to start finishing all bolting all that together, which I pretty much have done, and starting closing it and then find out I need to put that bracket on. So I'll put that bracket on first and go from there. The under tray is pretty much on. Well, it is on. I can't think of anywhere else it needs to be on. And I've put some wire clips for the loom where they should be. There's one there, sorry, there. You can see the tail end there, and there's one up this end here for the loom, to try and secure the loom in there. And that goes there according to the manual, but I can't see what it clips in. I must be missing a bracket that might bolt into something that holds it, but it's not really going to go anywhere even if we just put it there. I could even get some double-sided and stick one of them onto the side of the panel. I've got some double-sided here. I've been thinking about it already, as you can see. So it's pretty much tidy the loom up again. I've got to start looking at doing these pro shifting, this electronic gear change wiring in, getting that into place. It's not an easy job to do, but it's one of them, it needs to be done. So I'm just trying to just notice a few cables here that should be tucked around the back of the brake reservoir and onto that cable holder. So yeah, pretty much there's not much to bolt in up here now. It's just a matter to get the loom in the right place, and I need to get the under tray on before I secure all that up as well. I found the under tray. I will be doing that hopefully tomorrow. I found the clean one as well. I had a really bad tatty one from the original drag bike, but that will be replaced. I've got one that came off this bike which was a lot tidier, and then I suppose I can get the rear light unit in, which is somewhat a bit different than the standard, which you'll see once that's in. Nothing majorly special, just noticed another bolt that's loose there, needs tightening up. Oh no, it's not. Now I've just seen these bolts here, it's just that there's a cover that goes on there, but I won't be putting that on until the battery is in situ, because it gives you easy access for the earth side of the battery when you put the battery in. I brought the battery in, I have been using it as a spare for my drag bike in case I have an issue with the drag bike. So I brought it in with other bits and bobs, and it's just a matter of plodding on with it now. Switch gear, I'm going to start putting the wiring in. Most of the wiring in for that was for the push button gear change, because I do have a map switch for this one, which means I can have a wet and dry map for the gear change, so it's a bit softer on the wet mode. And also there's a push button for up and down on the side stand. I need to get them into situ, into place. I have found my a rivet gun to put the rim plate on. Once that rim plate's on, I'm going to get all those air ducts on, and that will start looking like it's moving on a bit. And then I can start routing the wires where they need to on the air ducts. The air ducts seem to carry the wires down one side, round the back, and then back down this side. Right, that's it from me tonight. I will speak to you again. I'm not sure how many more nights I'll be doing this, because I've got other projects, other things I need to do for a couple of weeks, which are not video projects. So I will get back to you as soon as I can, but I should have at least 2, maybe 3 more nights of this, and then that's it pretty much. I don't think it'll be fully finished by then, but it won't be far off. Hopefully it'll be a matter of just panels and a few bits and bobs. See, I can even put the rear exhaust cans on now, but I'm leaving that until rear exhaust cans go obviously down there. I'm leaving that until everything else around it has been bolted and put on, because of the fact that I might scratch and damage it, whatever. So yeah, it's starting to look more like a motorcycle now. The rear wheel will go back in shortly. At some point I would like to get some carbon fibre rear wheels, but I'm not sure when, partly because the cost, but partly the reason why I would like them is because it does help your handling quite a lot, I believe. Well, I know because I've got them on my H2, so it does help your handling tremendously because it's unsprung weight. Right, I'll get off now. I've been talking for 10 minutes and it's too long on this particular stint, and I'll let you carry on with what else you need to do, and hopefully that's been very helpful tonight for you. Speak to you again soon. Bye bye for now.